Welcome, my name's Chris Davis, and today I am going to go over what I believe happened to us. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and we'll just jump right into it. Okay, so how did we go from relatively fit to metabolically unhealthy in less than 2 centuries? I am a certified ketogenic carnivore coach, and I've just been so disheartened by seeing every time I go out all the people that are metabolically unhealthy. And granted, sorry, but you don't have to be overweight, obese to be metabolically unhealthy. I've seen a lot of what they call skinny fat people that they look a relatively normal size, but they are sick. And so I thought, let's research this a little bit. So here we go. This is who I think one of the main culprits are. And I'll go and make additional videos with my other perspectives as far as exercise and different inventions that have provided convenience and at the same time handcuffed us into being lazy. So the first thing is the major processing companies. And so I looked at them and their origins, because when you look at the existence of humans, how long have these companies been around? So starting off, the one that I could find was Bunge Limited in 1818. They made grain, oils, food ingredients. You have Cargill in 1865. Probably said that wrong. Nestle in 1866. Campbell Soup in 1869. You're welcome to at any time just take a screenshot of the products that they're producing, because take note, right? If these are the things that you're eating, these are not the things that our ancestors were eating. So continuing on, we have Heinz in 1869, Coca-Cola in 1886, 1895 was Post, Nabisco was 1898. And again, they have all kinds of things between ketchup, frozen foods, soda, juices, teas, cereals, cookies, right? Things our ancestors were not eating. So you have Smucker's in 1897, that rounds out the 1800s for us. Then we pop into the 1900s. We have Quaker Oats at 1901, Kellogg 1906, and Mars in 1911. Again, take note of the different things, because, at the time of Jesus walking the earth, this was not a thing, right? We didn't have mass production of this stuff. Now, don't get me wrong, right? I do believe people learned how to can foods, and maybe I'll drop that in here. But it wasn't like the mass-produced big food companies, what they're doing today. So, carrying on, Danone, 1919, General Mills, 1928, Unilever, 1929, Tyson Foods, 1931. Again, I've noticed a trend here with the whole cereal thing. I think that's one of the big culprits, is they got us off bacon and eggs and steak and eggs for breakfast, which, sorry, spoiler alert, that's what I have every day. Pepsi, 1965, Cisco, 1969, ConAgra, 1971. And so again, these are just not household things that they were eating over 2 centuries ago, right? Actually, not even a century and a half. So then I said, okay, well, what companies or brands do these companies own? And I wasn't able to find all of them, and honestly, I didn't spend the time because I wanted to get this information out to you guys so you can make an informed decision on your life. So Nestle, right, they have Nespresso, Kit Kat, Purina, I didn't know that, Maggi and more. Pepsi owns Frito-Lay, Tropicana, Quaker Oats, and Gatorade, which that kind of upset me, because I do like my sugar-free Gatorade, the little packets that don't have any of the other crap in them either. Coca-Cola owns a bunch, Unilever, and General Mills, of course. Then again, you have more, the Heinz company, right? They're famous for their ketchup, but they also own Kraft and Oscar Mayer. Mars, can't get away from their candy. I can. I haven't had a candy bar in, hell, I don't even know, maybe a decade. Bunge Limited, various oils, margarines, and grains. Tyson Foods. I did not know that they own Jimmy Dean. Danone owns a bunch of things, and ConAgra Foods. I did not know that they own Marie Callender's, Healthy Choice, and Banquet. So And then I thought, when did seed oil start coming into the scene, right? And so they started in the late 1800s, and it was processing cottonseed oil, right? Then in the 1920s, soybean oil, and they say because soybeans were promoted as a versatile crop. Soybean is one of the most high concentration of estrogen. So why are we giving men soy anything, right? Why are we increasing their estrogen levels? Food for thought. 1940s, right? Vegetable oils became popular during World War II because of shortages of animal fats. I wonder what else was going on. And then the 1970s, corn and other seed oils emerged, right? And then they just, boom, took off, especially when you had, 1958, the Framingham study came out and said that dietary saturated fat and cholesterol did not promote blood serum cholesterol to go up. And then the sugar industry paid 3 Harvard professors to say, no, it's not sugar that's the problem, it's the fats, it's those animal fats, get off of those. And it just exploded from there. Okay, so then I thought, let me look and see what disease rates have been since the 1870s to 2024. We're not done with 2025 yet, so I chose to leave it out. Understanding that in the late 1800s, early 1900s, they may not have had the best reporting methods, right? So understanding that may be a flaw in this number system. However, with that being said, you look at 1870 to 1940, and obviously there is a progressed increase. Now this is per 100,000 people. Right, so in 1870, 45 out of every 100,000 people was diagnosed with heart disease. And then by 1940, it was 250 per every 100,000 people. So then you look at 1941 to 1990, that number just increases, right? 250 to 690. Well, then interesting, 1991 to 2024, it's decreasing. Now, I enlisted in 91. Okay, I went in 92. I was one of those people that joined the military a week after they turned 17, graduated early from high school so I can go and serve my country. During that time, they were trying and started to change the fitness standards, and people started exercising more, right? Getting into the gym more. So I'm wondering, and I'll do some more research and see if that had something to do with why all of a sudden the death rates are going down. Now, granted, I apologize, the diagnosis rates are going down. But it's still high, right? It's still 510 in every 100,000 people. I don't think that we should have more than 5 people per 100,000, right? If we're doing the right thing. So then I thought, well, let's look at diabetes also. Again, understanding the potential flaw in the system. 870 to 940 goes from 30 to 120. Okay, that's a pretty good jump, even if it's not the best reporting. And then you have 1941 to 1990. Look at that damn jump. Holy Hannah. From 120 to 800. And it's just getting worse. 1991 was 850 and 2024 was 1700. Okay, people, this is an issue. When we have 1,700 per 100,000 people with diabetes. Now, these are diagnosed diabetes patients. This is not the people that are pre-diabetes walking around not knowing that they're sick. Okay, so I think that number would be astronomically higher if that was the case. So then, what about cancer, right? Because in the 1930s, the American Cancer Society started. So let's see what they've done in the terms of research and helping people that are diagnosed with cancer. So 1870 was 45, 1940 was 200. Again, I do understand the potential flaw. 1940 to 1990. So this is after the American Cancer Society has been running for several years, and the amount of people being diagnosed with cancer tripled. Now, interesting, in 1931, that's when Otto Warburg got his Nobel Prize for his discovery that cancer cells require 400 times more glucose or sugar than a normal cell. So why wasn't everybody adopting a low-carb ketogenic diet? I mean, it just totally makes sense to me. And then it's just gone up from there, right? 1991 was 620. It goes all the way down to 2024, having 850, right? And again, rates of people being diagnosed with cancer is just going up and up and up, even though we know excess glucose is the problem. So what do we do to fix our nation? Well, this is my opinion, right? I believe we start by having the bulk of our nutrition from ruminant animals, right? Minimum 70% from ruminant animals. Now, granted, 90% of mine is from ruminant animals, but there's some people that are not as far on their journey as I am, right? I'm over a decade in. I'm about 15 years into my journey playing with my nutrition. And mine's mostly cow. Right. I have deer, but I haven't been able to go hunt for one yet. I haven't drawn a moose tag, so I haven't got one of those either. I've never been to Africa, so, the giraffe is kind of out there, and so is the camel. But as you can see, there are plenty of ruminant animals that, regardless of where you live in the country or potentially the world, that you may be able to get a hold of, right? I know that when I was stationed in Turkey, they were notorious for eating sheep and goat. Right, there was actually this old couple, God, they were like in their 90s, and they were just squatted down on the corner of the road roasting a goat's head. Like it was Tuesday, like no big deal. I'm just roasting this goat's head on the side of the street. And then they pulled up the skull and ate the brains. And so, good for them. But start with the ruminant animals, right? They take what we shouldn't be eating and they process it and get rid of the toxins for us, and they turn it into yummy, yummy meat, right? I just finished my ribeye steak for dinner, so I'm still salivating over that. And then sprinkle in, right, eggs, salmon. I have an issue with liver still. Someone told me to try chicken liver because it's not as potent as beef liver. Haven't got there yet. Right, chicken, I do recommend thighs versus breasts because they're more fatty. And then Greek yogurt, if you can tolerate it, I see no issue with Greek yogurt. My grandson absolutely loves it. It's the first thing he has in the morning, and then he has his eggs and goes from there. So have 10% of your nutrition from chicken and salmon. And then if you can tolerate non-starchy veggies, make that the other 10% of your nutrition, right? Now, I do narrow down the non-starchy veggies. So it's not just have a heyday with cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, kale, spinach, nastiness, right? These are low oxalate containing non-starchy veggies. So look at one of my other videos I've done recently talking about oxalates, right? And it's called Plant Matters. Check it out if you haven't done so already. And so I only eat the lettuce. I have romaine lettuce. It's not every day. It's usually with my ribeye steak at night if I do have it. But yeah, cucumbers, zucchini, bell peppers, mushrooms, green beans, radishes, asparagus. It's kind of limited, but you really, technically, you don't need any of this for life. However, with that being said, people are programmed. Right? We've been programmed since the 1880s that you need to eat your vegetables, that they're, provide all these nutrients. Well, guess what? Carbs are considered non-essential. Fats and proteins are essential. Means you will die without them. So carbs are non-essential, meaning you don't have to eat them. But should you choose to eat them, here's a list of the ones that I would recommend. And stay away from boxed, bagged junk in the middle of the grocery store. So there you have it. That's my 2 cents, right? That's my breakdown of what I believe the nutrition issue is that we're having as a country, as a world. Is 1, we're eating way too many boxed, bagged items, and 2, we've been misled as to what we should be eating and what we should be intaking. And so if you haven't considered already, please do consider liking, subscribing, throwing me in a comment. I create, narrate, edit, produce all these videos on my off time from my day job. I do have a regular job aside from this one, but I would love to make this my full-time job. I would love to help people get healthy, get out of the matrix, get out of the bullshit mindset that we have to have all these carbohydrates or we're just not going to be able to survive. Bullshit. We totally can. So, hopefully this helped you out. If it did, again, consider liking, subscribing, send it to a friend, right? Let them see the data. Let them see the information and the fact that we haven't been eating this bullshit for the majority of our existence. And then we'll go from there. So with that, I wish you a blessed day.